And we are live. How are you?
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Beautiful Thursday here, Lakewood Ranch, Florida.
Ditto out here. There's a buzz in the air. It's college football starts. It's like a holiday.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
it is
yeah,
a holiday.
yeah. Well, it's better than probably how a lot of people's feet are feeling from kicking all the tires, right?
That's a good segue. You've been practicing that, haven't you? That's good.
Wow, are we seeing some tire kickers and some buyer's remorse? And we're seeing a little bit of everything. And let's talk all about it. Let's get
All
into it.
right. Yeah. Tell me what's your definition of a tire kicker? Tell me what you mean there. You only have a couple minutes.
It's just the inability to make a decision to move forward on something. So whether it's putting the home on the market from a selling standpoint, uh, deciding to sign a contract if it's a new construction, first time home buyer making that actual offer on their first home, um, finding reasons why you don't want to do all of these things. And we're going to talk a little bit about all those reasons, but that's kind of what it is.
You've heard my terrible joke. This is one of my favorite jokes my dad ever told me. It was a story where he said his uncle, who used to build silos, ran himself to death. He was in the silo and he just ran himself to death trying to find a corner. And that analogy is so true in what we're seeing people go through. It's rough.
All right. So all the real estate agents watching, all the mortgage folks watching, it's not just happening to you, it's happening to everybody across the country. So it's not picking on one specific territory or camp per se. It's all over.
Yeah, and if it hasn't happened to you, next week may not be fun.
All right. So the Fed is dominating the discussion boards these days, the Twitter feeds these days. Um, rates went from 5% last month back up to 6% today. So everything that we gained back the previous 2 months, we gave back in the last month. And we're sitting here at 6% today, and not a lot is really happening from a transactional standpoint. So it's not that the market is shifting, it's shifted.
Yes. It's the realization of the facts that we have. So that the tire kickers, there's been no shortage of chaos that can cause people to lose focus on why the hell they were going to try and buy a home in the first place. And that's the part that, is somewhat frustrating.
It's work.
It's work and it's a decision. And, that buying a house is not a quick flip way to make a lot of money. Those days of true property flippers are done, but this is a cost of housing and shelter for your family. And the decision has to be well thought out. And these little changes that we're going through, they're little changes, but you add them all up and people just get paralyzed. And it's super easy to lose track of why you started in the first place.
Yeah, we've had folks that have closed in the last 2 months that are absolutely ecstatic. And they're like, whew, I don't have to go through that sausage grinder again. And then we have folks who have signed contracts and have walked away in the last 2 to 4 weeks that are just paralyzed in fear.
Yes.
Of oh my God. It's kind of like a lot of you guys have bought cars in the last 2 years, and car values are starting to peak or come down the other way. It just feels funny. Like, did I just get taken? So that's what a lot of these people are feeling right now. We just had a signed PA, first time home buyer, and he walked. Wasn't what happened? Why did he walk? walked away.
caught up in the excitement of the home, um, agreed to a price, didn't like the price, had second thoughts, just questioned everything about it, was not did not have true internal confidence that he made the right decision to get the offer accepted. Um, so, yes, I want to buy a house for my family. I don't now I don't really need to. I can continue to rent. So
All right, so this person's working with a 25-plus-year veteran in the mortgage business. I believe it was a 20-plus-year veteran in the real estate industry. That had nothing to do with his decision of saying, I don't think I thought it all the way through, and this is too hard and too much and too scary. And I'm going to come up with a gazillion reasons of why this isn't for me. And I'm not going to necessarily share all those reasons with you, because that feels funny too. Because I know you just did a bunch of work.
I don't even know if I know what the reasons are. I just don't feel good. And that's rough. I mean, back to your car analogy, right? If you had to buy a car last year or this year, and you had to buy it at this price, and 2, 3, 4 years from now, you have to do something or turn that car over, you just have to deal with it. It is not a life-ending circumstance. But if you made the car decision based on the right budget and you had to buy a car, it's all going to take care of itself. We might be talking about a couple $1,000 at the end of the day, 3 or 4 years from now. It's not that big of a deal, but it feels funny, especially for younger folks, of, the what if, and not having a true sounding board of somebody that you trust to help guide you through that. Good Lord. Yeah, it's a vicious cycle.
The pressure that some of these folks are getting from the folks that do what we do in the industry, I'm sure can be overwhelming at times. I don't believe we're not here to sell anybody anything. We're here to guide you, help you along the way. But I know from the horror stories that I'm hearing right now that there is desperation going off in our industry just because of the lack of transactions. And if you're a real estate agent right now, you're in waters that you haven't been swimming in about 8 years.
Yeah, property values continuing the slow, steady increase. Mm-hmm. And now we've got question on what that increase, plateau, or possible decrease may be. It's rough.
If I talk about housing value decrease, people flip out literally every time. There's no way it can go lower. We're hearing that consistently every day.
So we've talked a lot about, home ownership is a big component of your net worth, right?
Yeah.
But that's over an extended period of time. And that's with mild appreciation, debt reduction, and that can compound over an extended period of time. The last 2 years has just been ridiculous. That if you bought a home in early 2020, to think that your home's gone up 40% in value and that's normal, it's crazy.
Well, let's look at it the other way. The people that didn't own real estate or still don't in the last 24 to 36 months, they're not happy either, right?
Yeah, I feel like
They're
the bus
missing
left
that.
the station.
Yeah.
There's not another bus that's going to come around. That's where, that may seem like we're talking out of both sides of our mouth, but home ownership is critical to your net worth. But you also at times have to look at it and say, I have to pay to live somewhere. So there's no free lunch when it comes to paying for shelter. And there's certain times where home ownership needs to be looked at. It's an expense, as opposed to this pie in the sky dream all the time that, hey, my property value is going to skyrocket right after I buy it. It's a long-term horizon.
So rent's still going in the wrong direction. Next week, we're going to talk a little bit about the mortgage product that helps you become a landlord if you want to do that. But we've had so many private, whether it's an individual or companies, become landlords. They're not slowing on their rent
No, that's why that mortgage
increases.
product has increased in popularity, because rents continue to go up. And, you know, for a family, you have to look at who's competing for your shelter, or what options you have. So instead of looking at that and say, oh, I feel like I overpaid by 5,000, and letting that anxiety or turmoil, you have to compare it to what you have now. And if your rent is exceeding and getting to a certain spot, use some math to correlate that, to go, okay, what does buying a house cost me on a month-to-month basis as a true expense compared to rent? You know, some of those things to help minimize the emotions and be able to allow you to make progress.
Another one we ran into this morning, they're building a new home and their home is on the market. They're in the move up space, right? So this isn't just first time home buyers getting put through the jet wash. They're now trying to figure out, how am I going to get my home sold, and the equity is going in the wrong direction, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to close and move on the new one. And those are the contracts that are falling apart on the new builds.
Totally.
Because most new builds are move uppers.
Yeah, when I agreed to do this, homes were selling in 14 minutes, right?
Yep.
And there was no competition. And now here we are 2 or 3 months later, and I still want a number that's going to make me feel good, but I'm going to forget about the 10 other properties that are super comparable and in proximity that I now have to compete with. Where 4 months ago, I didn't have to compete with anybody to sell a property.
So if I walk into a new construction community and I look at the existing homes and I'm looking at the builders / prices, I'm going to kick tires. I'm confused. I'm going to kick them all day long. I'm like, why am I making a decision right now? And guys, that's what's happening across the board. First timers, move uppers, and then you have the move downers. They're not going to move.
No, you can't, unless you're a cash buyer. You can't, your financing rate from what you have now to what you're going to, it's double. You know, you're probably at a 3%. And even if you downsize, you're going to be borrowing at 6%. It minimizes the benefit. It's tough.
So yes, interest rates will go down at some point and you could probably refi. Yes, it's a hedge against inflation. Yes, to all of these things, but this is the turmoil that the market is in right now, the housing market. And I want to say in the last 60 days, we've had about 8 to 10 fall out, change their mind, switch to a different company, not list their property, just a whole slew of it like we have not seen in a long time.
When the transaction that we were referencing that fell out, and the way out of the contract was the inspection. And the conversation that I had with them is it's not just the inspection. Yes, there were a couple things wrong with the home, but it's an existing home. But you also have interest rates that went from 5% to 6% since they went and saw the home. You also have more economic news that says jobs are being cut every week at a faster pace than we've seen in years. So you have an inspection, yeah, maybe kinda. Interest rates, ooh, that's not as good. And then we have maybe a little bit of concern about the overall economy. But that was 3 strikes where it went from, hey, I could buffer one of the 3 or maybe 2, but you get all 3 of those and people went, no. And it's not even like they go back and say, hey, $5,000 less, I'm still interested. It's just, no, I'm out.
So the nation's largest lender, I'm not going to name any names, you guys can figure that out, but they came out this week, help me with the verbiage about I believe it was called voluntary career
Change
uh,
path or path change.
career path change off reading something. I don't know, but they're basically saying we're laying people off. And people are coming to us and saying, we want to get out of the mortgage industry or out of the real estate industry. So I'd like to not quietly quit. I'd like to loudly quit. Are you guys good with that? So they're doing it in all different ways. All of these layoffs that are happening. You had a family member yesterday get laid off in the mortgage business. So it's everywhere, guys. Keep that in mind. For the people that you're speaking with, you might not be speaking with them tomorrow. That's just the way that it is. Fortunately or unfortunately for us old guys, we're going to be doing this for quite some time, not going to be doing anything different. We enjoy what we do. This is part of a cycle. Yeah, it's just is what it is. So we keep charging on, and we're going to keep sharing all this real world information with you. You got to know the truth of what's really happening out there. So don't
I think
shoot the messenger.
That's the key, right? We're not saying that somebody shouldn't buy a home. We're just acknowledging all of the challenges that they have. And we try to make it so it's a race to the truth, meaning what kind of math or tools or conversations can we provide that allows the emotions to be sort of held in check and allow you the opportunity to move forward. Not blowing smoke up somebody's backside or any of that stuff, but just a genuine conversation of here are some things to consider to help you make a good decision. And again, it's as good of a time to buy a home as we've seen in the last 2 years. Who knows what's going to happen coming forward? So just make good decisions.
It's funny, as I hear you say that, you get a lot of people that when they say that, they take heat for that, right? It's as good of a time to buy in the last couple of years. Oh, you're just trying to sell me into having to buy. No, like it is.
Yeah, there's more opportunities. You have more chance to negotiate. You can
hard,
feel relaxed. Yes.
It's really, really hard. So
because of indecision or uncertainty, what are values going to do? What are rates going to do? What's my job going to do? That makes it harder, I guess.
But slightly easier than where it was 6 to 9 months ago. Okay, we'll end there. Great stuff. Tune in next week. We'll be talking about the DSCR loan, debt service coverage ratio.
Credit ratio. Debt service credit ratio.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Have a great day.
Peace out. See ya.
Bye.